everyone. My name is Nele and I work for a company called Fiberplane. And you can also find us outside. We build at the moment a micro framework to instrument your code functions and get some metrics out there. And we have a second thing that we build. It's actually notebooks for SREs to collaboratively debug infrastructure. But actually, I'm not here today to talk about those tools, because I think all the tools you can introduce in your SRE or infrastructure environment are kind of useless if you're working in a company that has a blaming culture. And blaming basically is the idea that we don't like to talk about errors and that people don't speak up. And I think most of us would agree that being or working in a company where no one really likes to talk about errors and things they do wrong is not really helping when we want to handle incidents, because actually there is a point where we need to tell what went wrong and also be able to telling that things are going wrong. And organizations who normally focus on blaming have a strong focus on asking the who question, like who is responsible for this, instead of like how can we solve this quickly. And I think it's interesting that we kind of all agree that blaming is not helpful in those situations, but we still keep hearing and talking about the importance of creating blameless cultures. And I think it's not something that we can take for granted, that you work in a company and just because it says we are not blaming, there is a blameless culture. And I think there are three factors to it. And one factor basically is probably your own history and your own associations that you have made with errors and mistakes when you probably grew up. I don't know. When I grew up, I went to school and there was a basic rule in school: I had to write tests. And also based on those tests, I got a grade. And there was a simple rule associated with it saying the more errors I make, the worse the grade gets. And even if you got a bad grade and you had a lot of mistakes, there was no focus on how you worked afterwards on those mistakes and did the correction, but this was done, right? The grade was given. So that was the basic rule and the understanding and association I got when I was thinking about errors and mistakes. And so one step here is unlearning own patterns and own associations that you might have with your personal associations when it comes to mistakes and errors. And I think that can take some time and is a bigger process to think of, the own association. And then the second thing is actually the organization you work in. I think it's great if your team decides we don't blame each other, but what is with the rest of the organization? What are other teams doing, other engineering teams, or also like other people in the company? And I think here a part is that organization needs to give incentives for people to speak up, but also like lead by example. So they need managers to lead by examples that also can admit own errors and own failure. And then lastly, if we consider those two things, we can also think about the tools that we use to embrace blameless culture. And here we look into tools that basically enable two components. When it comes to collaboration, we want to have tools that ease the communication among different teams, but also that make it transparent when an incident occurs, so everyone is on the same page and can work together on the same page. And I think if we consider all the three things, we are in a good spot to really embrace blameless culture, where we consider that we might have associations with errors, or everyone has personal associations. We have a company culture and a company DNA, and we have the tools. And then maybe we come to the point that we can say that failure is no one's fault, but an opportunity to learn and grow.